Alright you guys, so today I wanted to walk through a solution for a try hack me CTF challenge. I usually like to start out by exporting an environment variable with a name IP that contains the IP address of the target machine. Then I would run a simple nmap scan to see which ports are open, and then I try to investigate each one of them separately. In this case, we can see that we have a few HTTP servers running, so we can try to see what each one is about. For the first one on port 80, we can find a Litchi service, which is a self-hosting photo management system. And in here we can find some albums of photos. And what I have found is that if you go to the first image and you check out the description, you can see a note which says strip metadata. So maybe what we can do is to take this image and scan it with something like EXIF tool and see if there is anything interesting in it. So I have used wget to download the image and then EXIF tool to show the metadata of the image, and what I have found in the title section is something that looks very similar to the port and the path of an IP address, and we've also seen before that 8080 is some sort of HTTP server running on the target machine, so we can try to check this out. You can try to access that address from the browser. I just prefer to use curl, and what information I have found here is Git service running on port 3000, and we have a username and a password, and there is also another service running on port 1337. Maybe we will need that in the future for something. So if we access the port 3000 on that IP address, we find the Git service and we can try to sign in, and we need the username and the password, which we have from before, so we can just use them. And now what we find is a Git repository, and we find the first flag in the flag1.txt. Another interesting file is this playbook.yaml file, which contains a command whoami, which will be run by the Bismuth user. Now the only issue is how can we actually run this script, and for that we can make use of the Olivtin service, and we can actually run the Ansible playbook, and we can assume that this is actually the one from the repository. And if we click on the run Ansible playbook and then check the logs, we can find that the command was successfully executed, and here it says the command and the result. So if we want, we can try to change this file with our own command and then execute it. And yeah, basically we can use the reverse shell here. I just use the first one from rev shells. You just have to change your IP address and the port that you want to run the reverse shell on. Then what you have to do is to commit the changes, and after that start an ncat listener. So yeah, basically the next step would be to go to the actions here and run the Ansible playbook and then wait for it to connect on the listener. So after we connect to the target machine, we can check that we are indeed the Bismuth user, and in its home folder we can find the second flag of the challenge. We can also see that there is an SSH key for the Bismuth user, so we can try to use that to connect to the machine instead of having to use the reverse shell. So basically just cat it and then copy paste it into an IDRSA file on the host, and then you will have to chmod it to be able to use it, and after that you should be able to connect with SSH to the target machine. And again, we are connected as the Bismuth user. When I initially solved this challenge, I ran LinPs and other scanning tools, and what I found is that actually the sudo version is vulnerable. So to check that out how it works, we can run sudo edit, then use the -s flag, and then we can just put some characters and then a backslash, and this should cause segmentation fault, I guess. And yeah, I think I've watched a YouTube video on it like 2 years ago from Live Overflow. I can link that if you are interested to see more about it. But for the purpose of this challenge, we can actually just use a GitHub repository which has the solution to exploit this vulnerability. And yeah, I mean the CV is this one, and this is the link to the GitHub repository. So we can just clone it on our host, and in fact we will only need these two files and the make file, and send them to the target machine to build it on that side, because I have a different libc version than the one from the target machine, and we can just send the executable. It will not work with this approach. So I would just start an HTTP server, and then in this in the target machine I would just wget each file separately and then run make. After you get all the files, you just have to run make, and then you can run the executable, and here you will have to use, as it says in the description, 0 or 1 as the argument. And since we are on Ubuntu, I guess you can see that if you run LinPs or other tools, you can use 0. And now if we check ID, we are actually root, so we can go to the root home, and here we find the third flag. So yeah, basically this was the CTF challenge. I think it was a really straightforward one and didn't have any like big rabbit holes that you can follow and waste a lot of time. And yeah, I mean, I hope it was useful for you. And if you want to check out, you can also read the entire write-up and see the comments that I used if you really need to. See you guys next time. Bye bye.